All right, so I want to just go over the how I would go about gesture drawing and really drawing in general. I always start with a gesture and then I build off of that, generally speaking. First thing I want to talk about is just fear. So a big part of the issue that people I find have is that they have a fear of screwing up the drawing or screwing up the work, and so they'll kind of avoid it or they'll make safe decisions. They'll try to constrain with their drawing and not try to expand or explore or push something farther. Um, so that you got to remember it's a drawing. One of the reasons why drawings are so great is because they are just disposable. I used to, again, my character design class, the first day of class, I told them I wanted them to draw something that would impress me, like so I could see like how good they all are. And so I gave them like a decent amount of time, I don't know, like 15 minutes, half an hour, and they drew something. And I collected them all, and then I ripped them in half and threw them in the garbage, which is such a like, oh, you're in college now. But the idea was, I'm like, everything that you make today should not be as good as what you make tomorrow, and everything is disposable. Okay, so um, one of the things so you just want to make sure you kind of overcome that. All right, so let's say you're going to do a gesture drawing and you're doing a typical like life study. You've got like a person or an animal or something like that in front of you. This is generally what I'd go there from a process. First thing is take a visual snapshot. So what you want to do is look at it as quickly as you can and try to get a general feel of what it looks like. I generally try to make notes of where the most uh, uh, the outside limb to the inside spine and out. Try to look at it almost like it's a stick figure. I also try to generally look at it as like a silhouette, because that is easier to kind of like keep in memory because it's a simpler form. Um, so the first thing I gotta do is look at it and kind of put it in your memory, think about it, and then the next thing to do is to ruin your drawing. Um, so the first thing you should do every time you do a drawing is just make a mark. The hardest part of writing an essay or any kind of written thing is that first line. When you have that blank page, it's really hard to do it. And this also bleeds into that whole like having fear. If you ruin the drawing right from the get-go, you take away all of the anxiety of making it imperfect. It's going to be imperfect. That's fine. Just make something, do anything. So literally just draw a line right through it if that helps. Um, so that's the first thing you should do is just ruin the drawing. Now you can explore and experiment and push yourself. The next thing to do is the line of action. The line of action is the main line through the body. So, like I was alluding to earlier about taking a snapshot, what that means is I will try to draw the spine because most of the movement in the pose um, comes from out of the spine. That will give you the weight. So I will look at where the spine is, and then I will try to also mark more or less where the limbs are, as well as the head. To get a general idea of the flow of the pose. So you can see this has like a general kind of diagonal feeling, okay? Then you want to complete the whole figure. So do not start at like the head, then start drawing like the chest and then like the thighs and the lower legs and the feet and then the upper arm, lower. You want to try and draw all of it all at the same time because it all exists as one large piece, okay? If you work the head a little bit, but don't finish it. Just work a little bit of the head, then work down on like the leg here, then work on the arm a little bit, then go to the feet, then go to the chest, then maybe go back to the head and work your way all the way through it every time, just a little bit over all of it always. Because what will end up happening is that you might draw a really good head and then you go down here and it's like, oh no, the head's like too small and you've already like put too much work into it and now you've got to like shift a lot of things. If you work all of it continually, you will make adjustments to each of the pieces against themselves. Everything that we're drawing is uh, is in comparison to itself. So what you see on the page is what is there. So you want to make sure that you're just kind of drawing all of it. Don't try to just focus on any one particular element. Once you're done with that, you want to do what I call it like sculpting. Okay. Basically, you should have a general kind of form like this. All you're going to do is just start building out the shapes and think about like the anatomy of it, the construction of it, the three-dimensionality of it, draw around and through the figure. Think about it as volumes, not as individual like pieces. Um, as flat shapes. Even you want to think about them in that sense. And also, just like when you sculpt, you start off with, like, if I was gonna sculpt a person, I would start off with a round ball. Probably I would start to make it into, like, a bowling pin shape, right? And then I would start to tease out like limbs. Then I start to like form a little bit more structure on the head, and then like some of the body, and maybe put some feet, and maybe like starts of hands. Then I'd go through and maybe like do like kind of indents for the nose and like the rib cage and things like that. I would work over the whole form, just kind of tightening and tightening and tightening as I go. And that's what you want to do. Lastly, you would go through and finish it. Make your final marks where you want your contours to be, final outside lines. Try to, check your measurements and things before you like really do this. If you want, you can go through and shade it. This is the fun part. This is the frosting that goes on the cake. But you can do all the great shading and detail work that you'd like. But if that foundational drawing is inaccurate, like the proportions are way off, or it doesn't fit on the page, or the pose is weird, um, no amount of like fancy shading is going to save it. Okay. You have to have that foundation to work off. I like eating icing, right? But you can only eat so much icing. You really need, I know no one's like nuts about cake, but you need the cake underneath to hold the icing. It balances it. Okay. So same idea here.